All right, joining me now is the man himself, Jonathan Turley, George Washington constitutional law professor and Fox News contributor. Jonathan, good to see you. All right, so Professor,
thanks, Sean.
Expound upon that point, if you would. Why might this get worse for Joe Biden in the end?
Well, you know, there was a curious statement out of the White House that this information is personal because this is the personal residence of the president. That dog won't hunt. I mean, you really don't have an argument that this is now a purely personal residence when you've stored highly classified documents there. So this is at best an investigatory scene. But you can't just say that because it's the private residence that Congress has no right to find out who had access to an area that may have compromised national security. So once that wire was tripped by finding those documents in the garage, Congress clearly has an oversight interest in knowing who was in that house and whether there might have been a compromising of national security information. Now, if they don't have a log, then the Congress is allowed to pursue other means to acquire that information. They can seek to interview family and staff. Those interviews will occur under the penalty of perjury or making false statements to Congress. So this doesn't change the ability of Congress to pursue this information.
Can you talk to me about the defenses that have been thrown out there? Because Joe Biden says as part of his defense, I take classified documents seriously. Others have said it was a mistake that Joe Biden had the documents at his residence, or Biden is cooperating with the DOJ. Do any of those defenses actually work in this potential crime?
Well, the inadvertent defense crumbled fairly quickly after it was first raised. It's hard to make an inadvertent defense when you have documents that presumably were taken around 2017 when he left office as vice president, and then appeared to be divided and distributed to different spots. The question is, why would you have that division unless these documents were being used for some purpose? Now, that purpose could be one of a number of things, but the most obvious would be the use on to be used on the book that the then vice president was working on, which included subjects like Ukraine. But you know, we don't know that. But there's other questions raised by the most recent disclosures. You know, the last statement was that various documents were missed in the search of the residence. I thought that was really perplexing because I've worked with classified material for over 3 decades. They are usually held in a folder that has a very pronounced border, usually red or yellow or striped, and then across the front is in bold letters a classification. It's really hard to miss if you're looking through a pile. So the question is whether some of these documents were not in their folders. Now, if that's the case, it gets even more serious because it would mean that someone had to remove a document from a folder. That person clearly then knew that there were classified documents there and that they were interacting with a classified document.
It may not
so
have
all
clearance,
those questions have got to be answered.
We don't know who had access to the documents and whether they had clearance or not. But let me get to this because some in Washington think this investigation is a completely open and shut case. Watch this.
This isn't a particularly complex investigation. There are 3 sites, what it looks like now, you know, an office space, 2 residences, to go out there, figure out if all the classified information has been recovered, who the people were who had access to it, all the circumstances by which it came to be placed there. Shouldn't take a lot of time.
Jonathan Peter Strzok is back, and he thinks that this isn't that complex of an investigation, but probably not for the reasons he thinks. What's your take?
Right. Well, I find it really quite remarkable that everyone came out and said, look, there's no evidence of anything other than inadvertence here. There's no evidence at all. The White House has refused to answer any questions. The evidence we have seems to go against inadvertence, but you really don't know. But what's really astonishing is how all of these people are coming forth and saying, look, this pretty much, you know, the record as it stands shows inadvertence. What record? You have, at most, you have a group of documents that were divided for some reason and sent to different locations. If the president interacted interacted with those documents, then he shatters this defense. And more importantly, it makes these recent statements look like an effort to deceive the public and the FBI. Now, do we know any of that? No, but all of these, the pronouncements that there's nothing to see here is odd because we haven't seen virtually anything at all.
Yeah, based on nothing. Professor Turley, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Always smart.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.